Hey y'all, it's Nina back with another video. Let's talk about this really popular notion of experiences over things. I feel like for millennials, this saying has been like a driving force for so many of the things that we do and talk about. The concerts, brunch, cultural events, travel, wine tastings, what have you. All of these things that we do because we don't want to prioritize things that we feel have no value. We don't want to prioritize items that depreciate, items that will be easily replaced, or things that we'll just forget about over time. At what point, though, does it become too much? Back in 2017, I was dating somebody that was very much, we were actually both Geminis, and we both enjoyed being out. We both enjoyed going to concerts, going to restaurants, going to different art events in DC. We traveled for concerts. So we were always on the go. We were always creating these experiences, posting about them on Instagram. Yeah, it was kind of a toxic relationship in that we both kind of had addictions to spending, and he actually admitted to having a credit card that had a huge balance. And then when we got together, it was just like lightning went off. And now, like, we're these two chaotic people having a great time, living it up, having experiences, but like, at what cost? At the end of 2017, I was thinking about buying a home. I was 31 at the time. When I look back and I think about how much money I spent having experiences during that year, it could have been a down payment, it could have been closing costs, it literally could have been anything towards what I truly wanted. And so in a lot of ways, I feel like the experience over things mindset can kind of morph into a scarcity mindset because things are expensive. I honestly feel like that's one of the reasons that I have not bought a home yet, because I've had this like intense fear of putting out a ton of money, of being broke in a home, house poor. I actually watched a video about how, with the way our economy is, with the way the job market is, a lot of millennials and Gen Z are reaching for things that feel more accessible than those bigger goals, than, the fully funded emergency fund, than the home, than the investments, than the retirement account. It's easier to reach for a Stanley Cup. It's easier to reach for a Labubu on the material side, or on the experience side, it's easier to just book a trip that's maybe, I don't know, $600 to $800, etc., versus putting that money towards something that feels so unstable and so, for lack of a better term, something that feels far-fetched because life is so expensive. There was a point where I was on Instagram and I was really, really focused on curating this beautiful aesthetic of all the art events that I would go to. It got to the point where people would say, "You go to the coolest places. Where do you find these places? I want to go with you next time." When I look back on the money that I spent on all that stuff, and the fact that today, 8 years later, I still don't have a really big thing that I want, that does feel really defeating in so many ways. And that does feel like all of that stuff wasn't necessarily worth it. I won't say that experiences in general are not worth it, but I just feel like if you have traveled a ton, I've been to every continent except Australia. There was a point where I was traveling once a month domestically and internationally. If you have been to all the shows, if you have been to all the wineries, if you have done all of the things and taken boomerangs of your wine and, accrued miles and miles and gotten upgraded to first class and done all this stuff, at what point is it enough? And maybe not enough forever, but at what point is it enough for now, especially if you're somebody that is not where you want to be financially, especially if you know that there are things that you really care about, whatever it might be in terms of finances. But if there are things that are kind of sitting in the background and not being addressed while you're enjoying all of these experiences, at what point is it too much? And I kind of feel like I've reached that critical mass in my life where there is nothing that I haven't done. I haven't gone skydiving, I guess, but like in terms of the things that I really want to do, there is nothing that I have not done. I just realized that I was living on this idea of more experiences. Keep going, keep traveling, keep moving, keep sharing. And I think it's okay. I think it's okay to be a millennial and not want to go every freaking where and not need to visit, 40 countries by 40. All that kind of stuff it's false metrics, vanity metrics thing. It doesn't mean anything to achieve those things. Social media creates this idea that we have to keep going, we have to keep exploring, we have to keep adding to these experiences because there's something of virtue about doing things versus buying stuff. And people will look down on the person that wants to buy 16 Stanley Cups. That person's crazy. But the person that feels like they got to get 16 passport stamps, that's totally fine. I'm not trying to judge either side. Travel is something that I truly enjoy, truly value. And so when I go places, I create albums and I like to look back at those albums to remind myself of the beauty that I saw, the food that I saw, the people that I met, the animals that I saw. I just feel like if you don't stop and reflect on everything you've done already, you get to the point where it's just not enough. And even something that's meant to be a positive sentiment, even something that's meant to be constructive, can still become something toxic when it's just overdone. I also feel like there's this idea that we can just continue to have what we want. We can have it all. We can have more. More, more, more. I don't necessarily believe that you should just live this completely bland life devoid of all the things that you cherish. I have also been to brunch many, many times in my city. Wouldn't it be better if on a Sunday I sat at home and I made my own breakfast for much cheaper versus going out, and I saved that money that I would have spent on something that I've done 100 times in my city to do it elsewhere and get even more if I'm somewhere where the dollar goes farther. I've been trying to slow down on what I want. I'll see a destination on Instagram, I'll see a nice reel and feel like, oh my God, I gotta go there. Let me look it up. Let me look it up right now. Let me look up the flights right now. And that was how I just put out a lot of money that was just kind of mindless. When it comes to things, I will keep things forever. But on the flip side, I'm the type of person that loves to amass a ton of experiences. Thinking about my travel throughout the year, annualizing it versus stuff just randomly popping up and then, okay, now I'm going here, now I'm going there. I just like the idea of having a strategy for it, having a plan for it, because I know it's something that I want to do. Overall, I just think that mindfulness about what we spend on anything is far more important and far more impactful than a simple blanket statement of experiences over things. Conscious spending, as in, is this experience something that I actually want to do because it will be amazing? And I've also put money where I need to put it. For example, if I have $500 that I need to pay on a debt, have I treated that with any sort of priority? Or have I just been carrying that balance around forever and I've been going here and there without really thinking about it? So that's all for this video. I just wanted to share those thoughts. Let me know in the comments what you think about this idea of experiences over things. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me in the algorithm. And I will chat with you guys next time. Bye.